Thank you for listening and welcome to the Life Podcast, a proud member of the Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network. I'm your host, Don Smith. Mike Shea sticks around and Dan Seabree comes by with some super dope news. We talk a little bit about our collective holy upbringing. If you enjoy the show, like and follow the Life 1069 on Facebook and Don Smith Comedy on Twitter, or tune in live on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM, or you can stream the show live at wwsu1069.org.
The brutal presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
All right, here we are back on the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith, sitting in with my guest co-host for the week, Mr. Mike Shea.
Can't get rid of me.
Yep, we tried. And we have swapped out Brandon Barry, and we now have Dan Seabree of Super Dope fame. And
Well, I was going to say, you can't get rid of Mike, but I'll leave if you want.
No, you're good. It's been a while since we've had you on,
man.
actually.
It's really nice to see you. How you been?
Yeah, I've been good. Been busy, but good. What have you been up to?
Nothing. I was sitting outside the room waiting to come in, and then I would hear the radio play, and then you guys talk, so there's like a little bit of a delay. I had
Yeah,
a real
so it
weird
looked like-
acid trip
yeah.
like a week and a half ago, so that was like throwing me for a loop. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, flashback.
Yeah, right.
It's terrible.
I had my first one last night. It was pretty cool, honestly, but it was my first one, so I'm sure it'll wear off soon.
Oh, it's good to have you to
Thanks,
to
man. I'm
push
really
drugs on the children of the Wright State University. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, kids,
Just
stay in
kidding.
school.
Yeah. But no, I was talking. I went to the eye doctor. I had to take my wife to the eye doctor this morning, and I'm sitting in there, and there's very very angry old man, probably 80 years old, been sitting there waiting, and he just he started using language that most of it I can't repeat on the air. Except for one that I haven't heard probably since I was a little kid. Hogwash.
Wow.
I have not heard that in forever.
Man.
And it wasn't just hogwash. It was hogwash. This is hogwash.
He threw the R in there.
Oh, yeah. Because you can't have true hogwash without the wash. So,
That's how you know he's
have you
old
ever
and
heard
country.
that? Have you ever?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I
Okay,
say that
okay.
pretty regularly, I feel like, but
Oh, you do? You use hogwash?
yeah, not worse. Let's be real. But, yeah. If they would have said it 40 years ago, I'm into it. You know? What
Oh,
I mean?
yeah. There you go.
But
there you
also,
go.
what is hogwash?
Well, it's what you have left over after you've washed your hog,
I should have known.
which would be my guess. That's why it's useless. That's something that's useless. It's hogwash. We don't need that
No.
because what else are you going to do with it? You already washed the hog. Now you just have this filthy water. But why would you wash a hog? That in itself is kind of useless.
It's a redundant task.
Yeah.
I cuddle with a hog.
I've had those nights myself. Sometimes
We all have.
Sometimes the end of the night when you're drunk, you just take the closest thing home.
A family radio show.
Exactly.
Oink means oink.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It depends on where you party,
Yeah,
Dan, and I've partied in some strange places.
really.
Oh yeah,
I just grabbed the boom for
yes,
comedic
for effect, and it worked.
Yeah.
Oh, it worked.
If this was on stage, they'd have been chuckling.
Just chuckling.
Just
though. Just
chuckling.
not even a
It
full
was
laugh.
slightly
Just like-
comedic effect. So what have you been up to? I know you got Super Dope chugging along still, and
Yeah, I've been a lot. We've been so we did I do this show called Super Dope, and it's a monthly showcase. And it's been in a bunch of different locations. Every place it's been in has been like a house. So we've gone over 3 years and 5 months this next week. So been focusing on that, and then my girlfriend and I we run a variety show together called Super Dope Variety Show. So it's like stand-up, live music. Sometimes there's drag. Sometimes there's like poetry. I want to get like a fire dancer because that'd be kind of cool. And some other
depends on where you had it.
yeah, 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 right. That's true. So we've been working on that, and actually, Wiley's just picked up the variety show. So we'll be doing it there monthly.
So I'm going to recommend the Fire Dancer.
Definitely
probably
do it. Collect the insurance money.
Yeah,
You
there
got
you
it.
go. Absolutely.
Understood.
Yeah. That's where I was going with that. I
Yeah,
was
right.
like,
How much is this sucker really worth? And then I had this idea the other day. So, you know how you guys religious at all?
No.
Nah.
Okay,
much,
cool,
no.
good. But I work in a place that there's a lot of people that go there. So kids will hand me like little tracts, you know, what that is, like a little like magazine, like a little mini
Yeah.
magazine. And the art, honestly, is really, really cool. But what's inside's like a real bummer. It's like, have you thought about where you go when you die? I was like, well, not really, you know. Like I wasn't really. But then it's just like a total bummer. The more you flip through, you're like, oh man, I'm screwed. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna burn in hell forever. But I want to do that, but like a little better. You know what I mean? But so like have like the same like style and just give it to like random people. Like act like I'm witnessing, right? And give
For
it.
your shows?
Yeah,
Just
but hold
promos
on.
for
So I
the-
give it to them, right? And I'd be like, "Thank you, have a blessed day," and I just walk away. And then it's just filled with this like filthy one-liners.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah, so I've just been working on that, and so I'll do like one page will be like a filthy one-liner, and then on the next like adjacent page, my girlfriend's gonna just draw up whatever the joke is to like put a little bit more oomph behind it to really drive it home.
See, that's great. That's a brilliant idea.
I love that
Yep.
idea. Actually, that's
Now, is it going to be a promo thing, or are you going to have your information, or you're at least your?
I definitely want to put my name on it.
Okay,
And I think
okay.
of my girlfriend's. I think that's going to be it. And just like, because I kind of want it to exist just out there. And then if someone happens to like kind of come around to it, then I think that'll be pretty neat.
Right. Because at first, I mean, that's gonna surprise people when they're expecting a religious thing, and it might there's going to be good and bad with that, because there are some people that just need that spiritual moment right at that time you hand them that, and they're going to be sobbing uncontrollably and thinking of all the things that they want to do, that they're looking for a sign. And you handing them that, they're going to think is their sign, and they're going to open it up to a penis joke. And that's
Yeah.
going to be...
The first one's going to be about death. Let's be real.
Oh, wow, yeah. That's even better. So,
Yeah, right. I kind of want to see how far I can go with it without people like noticing what's actually inside. So like I'm thinking of honestly like printing.
there
out
will be a lot of people that won't even open them.
oh,
yeah, I'm sure it's going to get into trash cans, which I got to figure out. There's some way I'm going to have to get past that part, because every time I go, I'm like, oh, thank you, and then like I put my
Right.
gum in it or whatever. I gotta,
Right. It's like they're saying, here, throw this away for me.
yeah, it's like, oh, well,
That's somebody else's joke.
yeah, right. So I'm going to try and figure out. I think what I want to do is, because there's one that I have that I've actually kept because I loved the cover, and it's like this real like far out art on the front, like old like 60s, 70s kind of like pop art deal. And then on the front of it, it's got a really cool title. It says "Happy Was the Man." So I thought it was like a cool like little thing, and then it's like Jesus, and I was like, this is a bummer.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Happy. Happy was the man.
yeah.
That's what my buddy Happy
I'm
we're
gonna
talking about
do it and be
there.
like, "What man's happy?" You know what I mean?
I think I handed one of those one time, and he opened it up, and it was about how, like, if you like, rock and heavy metal, like, the fist of God is
Right.
going to come down and smite you, and they had this graphic of this fist pounding a planet. And at first, I was like, well, that's a really metal image on its own. But then I
Exactly.
realized, oh wait, that's the cover from Judas Priest's "Ram It Down" album. Nice going.
That's so funny on
That's-
so many different
And
levels.
they got sued for copyright infringement.
I hope
I'm gonna
so.
do the same thing, but it's like, if you like Paul Simon, let's hang out. It's gonna be like a picture of us passing a joint or whatever, or I mean a cigarette,
Yes, a cigarette,
Yeah.
a tobacco
jazz cigarette,
Yeah.
left-handed
Jazz,
cigarette.
jazz cigarette.
A clove cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are always fantastic.
Those are yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
I'm just stuck on these little religious pamphlets, and I don't know
yeah.
why, because I
It's-
think that's such a unique.
Thanks. I think because it resonates. Like for me, I was raised crazy religious. religious. Like went to church like 5 times a week. Went from church
Oof.
and then I
Wow.
went to like a religious school like from
What
3rd grade. It backfired. I don't know. Whatever they did, they didn't do it right. You know. And then,
I do find that some of the most non-religious people I know were raised in heavily religious
Yeah.
upbringings.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it does.
for sure.
It has an opposite effect because
Yeah. Well, yeah, because basically, I guess when you're raised that strict religion, there's only 2 directions you can go, and they're total opposites.
yeah. Well,
There's not like you can just, if you were raised in that religious scenario where you can kind of just like,
you either accept the
Yeah.
indoctrination or you,
right.
Yeah.
you know,
I think-
move on to greener pastures.
I think it was interesting because, like, I think if you're raised religious, you either stay that level or you completely go the opposite direction, right? So, like, I don't know. I think my school, like, they taught a lot of critical thinking and, like, don't accept any answer just because someone says it. And then they're like, yeah, cool. And then you start reading the Bible, and then you're like, well, what about this? And they're like, stop asking questions. So you're like, well, at what point?
My school, actually, when I was in junior high, they still had Bible study classes
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
in
wow.
school
Oh, wow.
that we
go to
had to
public?
take. Yes.
Yeah.
Public school.
Whoa,
Oh,
that's
yeah. They
creepy.
got in some trouble for that, too, but, a couple years later. But, yeah, they still had them.
Oh, man.
So I was in Catholic school for a number of years, so it,
Right.
that
so
wasn't a
that,
shock.
that wasn't a shock to you. I was in a
Yeah.
public school, and actually a a friend of mine, because I was one of the long-haired hoodlum guys that, didn't really conform.
Yeah.
Even though my family is fair, my mother was very
right.
religious, raised very religious, and tried with us, and it just didn't work. But one of my friends actually had an earring in that day that was an upside-down cross, and he got hit in the head with a Bible.
Whoa,
For
that.
that-
Talk about metal.
in
That,
public school.
That's
pretty
right
metal.
there.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Man, I wish someone would hit me in the face with a Bible. That'd be
exactly.
Sweet.
Because that's really how you want to pass your religion on.
Yeah.
Is forcefully in the face with your holy book.
I
That's
can't-
really
when my mom got married and I was leaving Catholic school to go to a public school, I remember before I left, some of them were like, they preach the word of Satan in those public schools. It's like, I don't think that's true. I mean, I'm 9, but even then I'm like, I don't
Sweet,
think
the
that's
other
true.
side of things.
But on the other hand, I'm kind of like, I wonder what that's like.
Yep, I've read all this story.
Is it just the Bible from a different point of view? Like they just turn the camera to the left a little bit?
Yeah,
Did you
just a
see?
little skewed.
I can't remember where it is. I think it's in Utah, maybe. Mike, you might know. But so they had like this. There's like it's on government grounds. They put like a religious statue, like a Judeo-Christian religious statue, up on public grounds. So the Church of Satan got so mad about it, they started protesting. And so what they did though to protest is they kept submitting to have a statue of the devil. Just on these grounds, like on this government property, because people don't want to get rid of the Christian one, obviously, right?
Right.
So they're like, well, if you're going to do that, you have to do this. So, like, I think today or tomorrow there is like a statue of the devil going on like federal grounds, like right next to some religious statue.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so excited.
man.
I'm really excited about
I'm going to retire there.
it. Yeah,
So there is actually a Church of Satan.
yeah.
Because
Well,
because that just
Yeah,
is
yes
that
and
an
no.
organized.
yeah. There's 2 different ones. I think that.
Because I would always think that would be like if you. How do you make an organized religion out of that? Because that's like the disorganized.
Yeah, well, I
part.
think
There's-
their approach is like, well, we're just nihilists. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they just call it Satan to make a point. Like, if you're going
There's-
to speak about God, then like we're going
Right.
to call it Satan. And
one
it
of them's
does like
called like LaVeyan Satanism, and I forget the name of the other one. I dated a girl who
was into the devil.
turned out to be a LaVeyan Satanist.
I slept with a
But,
Wiccan one time. That was weird.
I was a practicing Wiccan for a number of years
Did we sleep
because I was
together?
like,
You
you know
said
what?
you were?
I was because I was like, man, you know what? Forget this Catholic thing. What's the farthest from that I can go?
Witches.
And
You're a
I was a
practicing
practicing
Wiccan.
Wiccan for 5 years.
How do you practice that? Just out of curiosity.
Lots of studying, actually. There's actually a lot of studying and a lot of one-on-one teaching, and
Yeah,
Very similar to religion.
yeah, I mean, no,
It's actually
it's
closer to
similar to-
Hogwarts than anything else. But
and that was the other thing. Is like that was the other part of it. Was like, look, I love Lord of the Rings. I love Harry Potter. I love this occult and mystical stuff. If there's a religion based on that, might as well give it a shot.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
But
Most of them.
Yeah, I know. But nah, I'm too skeptical for religion.
Yeah, that's all. It's organized religion in general. To me, has been.
I did.
It works for some people. Let's for some other people.
And more power to them.
I was thinking the other day, and there was a point I almost wish I could.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could
totally.
because it's like I wish I could buy into it because then I could say, take all my cares, but I can't.
This is something.
So I got to keep them.
Yeah, that's really. There's this thing I've been thinking about a lot because a lot of my jokes do involve like death. Just in general, like just making light, whatever, just it's in there, you know. And I actually remembered like when I was like 8, 9, 10, like almost every single night I would cry because I was afraid my mom or me or one of my family members would die and then go to hell. Right? Isn't that like the most terrifying thing ever?
Well, yeah, that's how they.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid and that's what you hear about, it's going to affect.
It's like, it's crazy this amount of death anxiety. But then, like when I was a teenager, I was like, I don't really think about, like, I don't
care.
Yeah, well, I just like stopped caring about religion, and then like you get like ostracized, especially going to like a religious school. Like they tell you like don't say anything to anybody, like blah blah blah, like, keep it quiet, don't show any disrespect. Like if you ask a question, that's like disrespectful or whatever.
Yeah. Well, even me living in the Bible Belt as long as I did, when I would tell people I was an atheist, dear God, did a lot.
Who?
Yeah, I know.
You're an atheist.
Somebody said, if you're an atheist, why do you say things like, oh my God, and dear God, and God bless it, and all that? I'm like, well, I just don't capitalize the G.
Right. That's all it is. Yes.
But
I like to tell people God's a lady just to make them mad.
Yeah.
But no, I would just, people say like, what's living like an atheist like? It's like I do the same things as you. It's just, when I do something nice for people, I do it because I want to, not because I think it's going to score me points.
Right. Yeah.
Or if you hurt somebody's feeling, you talk to them about it instead of just praying.
Yeah.
I don't say, oh, you're going through a hard time, I'll pray for you. For me, it's more of a, what can I do to help?
Right. Yeah, but there you go.
I have one joke about it I do, and it's pretty much can be summed up as, I'm a good person because I know it's the right thing to do, not because I'm trying to fulfill an obligation.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and the whole, I'm sending prayers. That's, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I just spit on everybody that says they're going through a rough time. I'm like, Puh, shut up.
You are?
Yeah. Puh, now it's worse. Later.
Yep,
And I just do a kickflip and I leave.
Perfect. I'm out.
Trade you later, nerds.
Well, it's a fine thing to say, but it's
the intent. I appreciate the intent.
Send me money.
Yeah. I can appreciate the intent behind
send me
it.
A cake.
But
send me something useful.
Yeah. So when my dad died when I was 18, and then like that was like at the very tail end of my like religious thing. But like I still he had like a very religious ceremony because he was so religious,
right.
And so. At the end of it, though, it was the first. He had been in home hospice care for like 2 weeks, and so the only time that I had cried was like the day of his funeral, right? Just kind of keeping it all together for the family, and then I was after the funeral, someone came up to me because I was obviously upset, and they're like, "Your dad's in a better place now." I was like, "Dude, he used to live in a gated community. Now he's in a tin can in the ground. What are you talking about better place? Like, I think he got ripped off."
Not much better. I don't.
Yeah, it's worse, actually. He didn't live under anything. I feel like I really turned a lot of people off to Super Dope just by my... I'm sorry. I don't,
Because, the whole religious crowd isn't going to come to your
yeah, good
Super
point.
Dope
If they get
shows,
a little bummed, better watch out. I'll spit on you.
Yep, and send you some prayer.
Right.
Who was it? I think it was George Carlin was saying he just prayed to Joe Pesci because he seems like a guy that would get things done.
Oh man, that's
you're going to
awesome.
pray to somebody, and might as well be to Joe Pesci. All right, I think we're going to take a little break. I got some Potter's Field queued up, for the religious destruction. The religious discussion. The song is called "Fell from Grace," so that it can fit. All
works.
right. We'll be
It's on
back.
topic.
Yeah, we'll be back in a few minutes.
This is the longest day of my life. Minutes feel like hours, like days, like years. My thoughts weigh down
If there's one thing that's true about wrestling fans, it's how much they like to talk about wrestling. Join Aaron Lopez and Ben Norsworthy for the Top Rope Wrestling Podcast.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Tune in every episode and be ringside as these two break down all of the big matches in the world of professional wrestling. Brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
Hey man, this is Donnie Baker at Wiley's Comedy Club, and you're listening to WWSU 106.9. I swear to God.
All right, we're back on the live radio show. I had to throw Donnie Baker in there. I haven't thrown that out there.
You need Donnie in every show.
Exactly.
This is
We
Donnie
should put that out there because it's for the club, and for the station,
Yeah, I guess.
For the kids.
and
For
for
the
the
kids.
kids. Definitely for the kids. Everything.
Love
for
Donnie
the
Baker.
kids. Yeah.
So
We're
sorry.
back.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
back with
We are.
my guest co-host Mike Shea and Dan Seabury sitting in with us. Well, that's our greeting.
Some Wiccan cursed me, and that's it's like,
Yeah.
They didn't like the
There's
things we
actually
said.
a song we were listening to earlier that made that same noise.
Oh,
I don't
really?
understand why they did.
Was it the Quiznos song?
It was the same
It
one.
was
as
the Quiznos song? Okay.
And he would go, and it's
Yeah.
like, what does
I
that
like it was
have
really
to do?
hot when you bit into the sandwich.
That's what I was guessing.
Is that the Quiznos we're talking
it
about?
was
Yeah.
not. That's not actually what it was about, but that's what it sounded like he was saying. Was I get Quiznos all the time or something like
See,
that.
I hear Quiznos song, and I think back to the early 2000s with the Sponge Monkey commercials. You remember those?
No,
Don't
I was like,
remember
There were
those.
these commercials for Quiznos, and they had these little, like, construction paper-looking creatures that would come out and play a little guitar and sing a song about Quiznos and all their commercials. And
Oh,
it was
yeah.
the funny thing. Hey, Quiznos song!
yeah. Was it like real life lips too?
Yeah, they had, like, the real person lips, but they had, like, a little construction paper.
Man,
Oh, they
early
were funny.
2000s animation was like, look, man, we're all eating
Yeah.
a lot of ass.
We're all
We gotta-
high.
yeah, let's-
Look.
That's funny.
I remember one time, my dad and my stepmom got married in Vegas, and they're like, you can go anywhere you want in Vegas, and I chose Quiznos because we didn't have one in Dayton, and I loved. And that's so funny because I loved those commercials, and then it was like a $12 sub, and it was terrible.
Yeah, they're not good.
Never been back.
They're not great.
I think I've had one time. Wasn't impressed.
My favorite's Witch Witch.
What's that?
Well, that's because you were a
Comedy.
They just opened the first one in Dayton over by Costco, over by me in Kettering. And it's a sandwich place, and you can basically just
Oh, okay. So it's not Quiznos has a sandwich called Witch Witch.
no, it's actually
It's
a
an
restaurant
actual-
called
okay.
Witch Witch. It's Witch sandwich.
The Wicked
Okay,
Sub
so
Shop.
it's not like yes, that's what I was going to say. It's not
That
like
would be awesome.
WITCH. It's not Witch.
The sandwich must choose you, like in Harry Potter. The wand.
Yeah, that's
Great.
yeah. I don't think I'd want to try a witch. It'd have like testicles of a newt, and, little bat's blood. Yeah, that's not really
Robin's egg and
Robin's egg, eyeballs of a crocodile.
Yeah. What do I know about a witch? I'm just your cook.
Terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, the Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Aha.
In case you didn't get the reference. There.
great
I haven't
Mel
seen
Brooks
that in
movie.
forever.
that is a
Yeah.
great movie.
Yeah, Tracy Ullman was funny in that. Yeah,
I'm just gonna say, anytime
his name was Latrine. I'm not going to tell you what it used
Oh yeah,
to be because we'd have to bleep it.
we'd have to bleep it. I'd have to bleep it.
What is?
I'll tell you off the air.
I'll say it right now.
I was going to write it down and show him, but
Oh,
then he'd read it out loud, and it would freak
You know I
out.
can't read.
That's right. I forgot, Dan. I'm
Draw a
sorry.
picture.
I'll do it with emojis.
Yep, I ought to do that. No, well, they do have an emoji for that.
That's true. They do. They do. Voiced by Patrick Stewart. Oh my god, that movie happened.
That it did.
You guys
All
seen
my
the
news is
Rugrats movie?
upside down.
Yeah.
What movie?
The Rugrats movie.
That Rugrats movie as a kid made me cry
Dude, whoops. Yeah, both of them.
because it gets dark.
Dude, in the first one,
He's gonna-
these kids get separated from their parents and their babies, and then it's like, isn't this fun? You're like, not at all, actually.
It's
This is terrible.
horrifying.
Tommy can't even speak. This is
And-
ridiculous.
And then he tries to feed his baby brother. He has an emotional collapse, and is going to feed his baby brother to the monkeys in a lightning storm. And I'm like 8, and I'm like, this is horrifying.
Yeah, honestly, though, like, could have been a lot worse. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Monkeys are pretty much people, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's
I
basically
guess.
what I picked up from science
Except all
class. So we're all monkeys.
Except all the throwing of feces, and that's
You
it's
don't do
kind of
that?
like
You don't
an
do
open
that?
mic.
Yeah. It's like an open mic. But in the second Rugrats movie, you find out Chucky's mom's dead. And they're like, you just kind of wrestle with that for the whole time during the movie. It's terrible.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them. So
Oh, man, you should. The classics.
Don's too
they
old.
sound lovely.
Yeah.
They sound,
Don's old.
What did you
so
say?
I said, you're too old for
How
this.
old are you?
No, I mean, what did you say? I couldn't hear you.
I'm 29.
29?
29.
When's your birthday?
Wow.
January
No, I
4th.
mean,
So you're a
I mean
Capricorn?
that in a good
I am
way,
a
Mike.
Capricorn. I know.
Don, when's your birthday?
I look a lot older than 29.
I wasn't going to say that, but I was
August
thinking
14th, 2 weeks.
Oh, you're a
2
Leo.
weeks, yeah,
Far out.
Leo.
I knew it. You took it off Facebook.
What's that?
You took your birth date off Facebook.
I don't think I ever put it on there.
Then how did I know?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm
Because I
at
just
ESPN.
told you. You have ESPN?
Yeah.
Should we do some news stories?
Always.
Should we hit some news? All right. Some Uber riders in Florida. I love Florida stories.
They're always the worst.
are accusing drivers of engaging in some truly stomach-churning fraud. See, I have to mark this off or I'll reread that, and I don't want to do that. According to the El Nuevo Herald, several customers claim unscrupulous drivers have falsely accused them of puking inside their Uber vehicles, making the riders responsible for bogus cleanup charges. Miami resident William Kennedy told, well, he's a Kennedy. He probably puked in there. William Kennedy told the publication he was victimized twice in one night. It was a total fraud by both by two different drivers, Kennedy said. They have everything planned for the fraud. The scam, which has been dubbed vomit fraud, has been, which was just
That's it.
lot,
Should be
lot-
Vomit
lot
Gate.
prettier
I was going to say,
than-
where's Vomit Gate? Come
Yeah.
on.
Yep, Vomit Gate. He was a Kennedy. Has been around for a few years. Reports of it have surfaced in different parts of the country, including New York and California. The shysters will reportedly pick up a customer, deliver them to their intended destination, then report to Uber the individual vomited in the vehicle. The drivers allegedly provide the company with fake pictures of the mess, whereupon the company hits the passenger with large cleanup bill.
Yeah, it's like $200 fee.
Yeah, they make that little
Really?
rubber. They
Yeah,
make
dude.
that fake little rubber vomit. That's perfect.
That's a
for it.
great
Yeah,
idea, but I'm
exactly.
on the side of the drivers, honestly, because sometimes you get like everyone sucks sometimes, so you
Yeah,
get like
yeah,
a terrible
absolutely.
terrible guy that's riding with you, like 1 star. Is
Oh
not
yeah,
enough.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're gonna no
extra
tip.
200
You're getting
Yeah.
the vomit.
Also, if it was the same dude twice in one night, that means he definitely sucks.
right. And that also means he likely puked in at least one of those cars.
Yeah, at least one of them.
Unless you're getting drunk, you're not going to keep Ubering around that much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the next guy was like, "My car now smells this guy just smells like puke."
Right.
So he's like, "I'm just
so
going
he
to
might
charge
as
him."
well charge him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for the air freshener.
Still got to get the
alone.
smell out.
Exactly.
It seems like something Travis Charles would do.
puking a Uber driver or
Being the guy to
charge
file the claim. But sure, he could puke in an Uber
That's
car.
right. He does Uber.
He does drive
doesn't
Uber,
That's-
yeah.
I'm just going to start puking in people's cars with the Uber stickers.
Yeah, just randomly.
I don't even like
walk
calling Uber. I just
Yeah, as long as I got their window down, it's fair game. In the driver's seat. That's right. that way they don't remember if it's them or their passenger.
I was
How did
like,
they
put
get
it on their
in here?
tab,
Yeah, they'll have to charge themselves for it.
I'm never going to get an Uber to pick me up. Ever.
No. Yeah. The race starter stood up and shouted, "Ready, steady, slow." The crowd cheered, but the competitors remained stuck to the starting line. Welcome to the World Snail Racing Championship.
God.
More than 150 snails took part in the annual event. I don't think they took part more than they were like set on a
there.
place and said there. They didn't really know what they were doing. It wasn't like, I'm going to beat you.
This wasn't like the Santa Olympics, you know.
Right. More than 150 snails took part in the annual event held at a summer fete in Norfolk, Eastern England. Got to watch how you say that. On Saturday, where a silver tankard stuffed with lettuce leaves was the prize. Because, of course, the snails know that. So that's why they compete so hard, so they can get the lettuce leaves in the silver tankard.
You even see that far?
Like,
Yeah. The snails are placed on a special damp cloth marked with 3 concentric circles, and the creatures race 13 inches to the outer ring. We take this seriously, says snail racer John McLean. John McClane. That's
Oh my God, that's like Bruce Willis's next movie.
Just you reading this is boring.
yeah, snail racer. I'm kind of picturing the guy as like a jockey.
Die Hard.
He's-
It'll be Die Hard 7 Snail.
They've got training slopes. We look at diet. They're drug compliant
No,
as
they
well.
don't. No, they don't.
And the whole thing
That's
is
not true.
just like elite sports.
All of this is a lie.
The competition, the competition has been held since the 1960s, with
No, it
each
hasn't.
race lasting several minutes. Competitors, several minutes, because it's on a little damp cloth.
Oh my god!
With circles on it.
I feel like going to that's like watching an NPR interview. It's so lame.
Yeah. Competitors are able to select a snail from the organizer's stash or bring their own. They can bring a ringer snail into the mix.
Who
It's like
does
a
the
ride-in snail, you know?
Who does the commentary for this? Garrison Keeler? I mean,
That would make sense.
Actually,
$5 to
I'm coming
anybody
around.
out there who
Wait.
knows who the hell Garrison Keeler is.
I know
by
who
the way.
Garrison
you
Keeler
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
He's a Leo.
He's a Leo.
Yeah. Is it Prairie Home Companion, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the man knows Garrison Keeler.
Yeah, baby.
He's actually kind of entertaining.
He's
Just,
super entertaining.
He's very, very
Yeah.
I mean, he's boring,
relaxed.
but like
yeah.
He's just the most sexless individual on the face of the
it's
earth.
kind of like a snail.
Yeah.
He's kinda like a
kinda
snail.
snail. Well, that's why you said he would be.
Takes him forever to get anywhere.
Yeah, and he gets all the way to the end of a 15-minute story for a tiny little chuckle.
Yeah, I think I like Garrison Keeler because my dad's dead, and I'm like, oh, that was supposed to be funny. My bad, guys.
Wow!
I need to stop bringing that up.
That's where he was going with that.
So,
No, 'cause, you
how
know,
has
it's
that
like-
affected you, Garrison Keeler? How
Oh,
has it
how's
affected
he?
you?
I was like, it's like you can't tell how it's affected me. Pretty good. I fall asleep to him sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah, he knows where I live. He just comes over and like.
yeah,
speaks to me,
just
and, like,
randomly talk. Yeah,
Sometimes I accidentally call him dad, and he's like, "Stop it." I'm like, yeah, I brought it around.
I appreciate that. I'm trying to find some good stuff in here. There's man in Jacksonville. Even though Skylar McNeely's not on the program today, this is one for
I
him.
love this.
You remember? Have
Yeah,
you
oh,
seen
yeah,
his
yeah.
bit about the? Okay, a man in Jacksonville, Florida, brandishing a live gator, chased people in a convenience store where he was purchasing beer. Video of the strange episode shows the man, whose identity has not yet been confirmed, walked into the store holding a gator with his right hand. The animal's mouth appeared to be taped shut. The man asked while walking toward the front counter, "Y'all ain't out of beer, are you?" Because that's a direct quote, and that's how you have to say it. "Y'all ain't out of beer, are you?" Is he taking the last bit of beer? There was somebody at the back of the store. Is he taking the last bit of beer? You ain't taking the last bit of beer, are you? Moments later, the man with the gator jokingly ran at the other man as people in the store laugh. He then grabbed a 12-pack of beer. Florida wildlife officials are investigating the incident because he ran at them and everybody was laughing.
That's so funny.
You would have to investigate why everybody was laughing because the man had a gator.
That is amazing. I love that
Yes.
story.
It's probably pretty common down there, though.
I'd say it's not that unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Florida Wildlife Fish and Game or whatever was investigating. It's like, it's Bobby.
They never ask,
I
they
imagine
never ask you why you have a gator. They simply ask why it's not on its leash.
Right.
bet
Why'd
this-
you tape its mouth shut?
I bet at one point this guy probably thought to himself, "Well, if they take my guns, I still got my gator."
From my cold,
Dead gator
smelling
hands.
Yeah, forget the dog, beware the gator.
Yeah, that's funny. I've thought about getting a gun, but
I've thought about getting a gator.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually kind of brings me to that because I don't ever want to like pull my threaten anybody or ever use it or anything like that. But I just want to have it to see people's reaction. You know what I mean? Like, you know how like people are like, oh, that's, you go to the gas station, buy a pack of smokes or whatever. And they're like, oh, that's whatever. And you try and like pull all your stuff out of your pocket to find you. I want to like pull out like, my phone, my keys, my gun, just put it on the counter, and then like just a bunch of
like
other
it's
stuff.
nothing.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, pardon me, and then just like scrape it into my arms. Like,
There's
all right, I'll see you guys later. Thanks.
There's
yeah,
Yep, digging for change.
just like pull out my wallet, open it, and just a bunch of bullets fall out. Thought I had a quarter in here somewhere.
I was working for well, I won't say that. I was working for a retail store after college, and at one point this guy came up and said, "Hey,"
It was a Walmart greeter.
I wasn't a greeter, but he said, you guys have any more bleach? You guys don't seem to have enough bleach on the shelf. And I look over and I was like, okay, yeah, the shelf is empty, but I look at his cart and he's got like 8 bottles of bleach in there.
Murderer.
And well, I said, well, sir, as I checked in the back and I said, we do have one more case of bleach, but I can't put the whole case out if you're just going to take it. We have to keep the shelf stocked. I can give you one of the bottles out of there, but I got to have at least 2 or 3 to put on the shelf. And he's like, that's all right. I already got the most important part anyway. And he shows me in his cart where he's also just bought 3 boxes of bullets. And I'm like,
Murderer.
I need to leave this area before I become an accessory.
Yeah.
Murder.
Yep, sir, have you stocked up on lime and shovels?
Right?
Yeah. So you're going to need to dispose of it somewhere.
He headed off towards hardware, so I hopped I was a manager, I hopped on my earpiece, was like, there's a guy with a cart full of bullets and bleach. Can someone just keep an eye on him, please?
Yep, I know something's going down. I don't want it to happen here. Not while I'm on the clock.
Right.
I'm off at 5. He can come back. An Indiana judge has ruled against the
Worst
First
sentence
Church.
ever. Indiana judge has ruled it's not going to be good.
Exactly. Has ruled against the First Church of Cannabis, an Indianapolis church seeking to offer its members marijuana as a holy sacrament.
No way.
think I just found God.
Judge Cheryl Lynch, which that sounds made up.
That sounds a fake
Yeah,
name.
that's some Wall Street crap right there. They bought her. Judge Cheryl Lynch of the Marion Circuit Court decided Friday that the state of Indiana had a, quote, compelling interest in preventing marijuana possession.
Here's the thing.
Why would that be so compelling?
Hold on. I've been to that church. This is not a bit. I actually did a show at that church, and the guy that ran it was Jerry Goebel.
Yeah, I think we had Colin Brunn was in here. He'd been there, too.
Yeah. It was the worst show I've ever done. Yeah. So I get why they closed it. But, no, it was... But the thing is, I said yes to the show because I was like, oh, yeah, cool. You know, Church
Right,
of Cannabis.
marijuana
That sounds
church.
Right.
real
They
far
didn't
out.
let you bring your own, did they?
No, well, I didn't bring any because I thought they would just have some. And
You
they were
would
like,
think.
and then when I got there, they're like, hey,
Why would you think that? Have you ever been in a Christian church where God showed up?
oh man, that's a
Just because you worship
man.
it doesn't mean it's going to be there.
well, hey, I don't worship it. I just like I'm an
Well,
enthusiast.
no, the church, not
Yeah.
you. I mean,
But-
I wouldn't
yeah.
I wouldn't cast any,
Blunts
any,
or whatever.
yeah, blunts.
No, but like if there was the church of loose women, you're gonna go to that church because you just want to. You think there's
Right,
at least a
right.
chance.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And then he was like, hey, you can't
And
have-
there's a bunch of dudes there.
But-
And not one woman, loose or otherwise.
It's a trap.
yeah. Actually,
Maybe a couple of them. I
all
don't
the
know.
dudes that were at the show were like just a bunch of old libertarian men that kept yelling about the government. And I
of
was
course.
like,
Oh, so that's exciting.
I was like, this is a nightmare.
Nah,
But
it's not
I did go down. They had so the thing is because they didn't have any way to get money because people were like, I'm not going to go to church and not get stoned. Like that sounds stupid. Like if it's
Right.
a church of weed. So what they do is they in the basement they had all of these like old like 1970s, 80s, and 90s like action figures from like all like from Mattel, Bandai. Like, all this
jeez.
stuff. Yeah, that part was pretty cool.
Huh. Oh, okay.
That's all I got. I'm just saying. I'm glad it's closed.
But anyway, according to Judge Lynch, allowing religious exemptions for marijuana use would have an overall negative impact on society. She also argued that an exemption would put Indiana police officers in a difficult position of having to evaluate the sincerity of the marijuana user's religious faith.
They do that for booze and children, though, at church.
What's
They don't
that?
got to pay taxes. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, they do that for kids. Like, if you go to, like, a Catholic church or an Anglican or any high church thing, you have real booze in those cups. Like, and
Yeah.
kids can drink
Yeah.
them, so that's
Exactly.
a bogus
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah. Well, it's not illegal though.
it's almost like
If
they
you're a
don't
10, it is.
If you're 10, yes, but that's the blood of Christ that you're drinking as a 10-year-old.
It
This
must be
guy
like
was wasted.
Christ's beard. If wine's the blood of Christ, then weed's definitely like the beard of Christ.
Right.
Right?
And why shouldn't we be able to indulge
Rub
in
his
the
sweet
beard
beard.
of Christ?
Yeah.
I know. It's almost like they don't
Makes
want people to
perfect
smoke
sense.
weed. It's weird.
I don't
It's like they have some
understand.
ulterior motive.
You could say it's a conspiracy.
Well, if you don't want to smoke weed, I have another story for you.
Oh,
Marijuana-infused beer is an idea that is long brewed among pot enthusiasts, and it may soon hop onto store shelves onto store shelves in Canada. I didn't write it.
I'll allow it.
Molson Coors Brewing Company is reportedly in talks with various cannabis companies in Canada. Say that 3 times fast.
Nice
Cannabis
alliteration.
companies in Canada.
Where recreational marijuana will be officially legal later this year. Road trip. Bloomberg reports that the company wants to
Sounded
Man, who wrote this? Bloomberg reports who read this, that the company wants to invest in the pot purveyors in hopes of creating cannabis-infused beverages that might stop the company's beer sales from declining further. Well, their beer sales are going to decline when weed's legal.
Yep.
You know what we got to do to make beer sales go up? Make sure no one cares about how this beer tastes.
Right. Well, yeah, it's Molson Coors. Nobody does. A source familiar with Molson Coors negotiations told Bloomberg the brewer is seeking, quote, high-quality product that isn't going to embarrass them. Have you tried Coors Light? And enough pot to make a potential cannabis-infused beverage viable on a large scale.
Beer water now with pot.
He said on a large scale.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, man.
That's a pretty good idea. I mean, they have tinctures, which is just like liquid THC.
Yeah,
And you just drip it in like whatever you're drinking. But you guys know Mike Kalinsky, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys know in 2014 he won the Wiley's
Yes,
competition. So he and I hung out like pretty much all day before that show. And he had a bunch of weed butter made up, and they had a cup of coffee, and he took probably a good, like, almost like half a butter stick worth of this weed butter,
Wow.
dropped it in his coffee, and it melted, and then he just drank the whole thing. All we did was smoke weed all day, and then he had the best set I have ever seen in my entire life. And it was unbelievable. He won by like a landslide, too. It was not even close. It was amazing.
I'm starting to think this. I normally try to be sober when I go on stage, but my first ever headliner said I was hammered and it went over pretty well. So maybe there's something to
Sometimes
inebriation when you're on stage. I
a
don't
little
know.
bit.
Yeah.
If you don't get, the way I view it
you
is
have
like,
you have to make sure you still remember your material.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't know how I did. Somehow I did, but
Sometimes I find with like, I try not to have smoke or drink before any show, but sometimes it'll actually like kind of pull down the barriers just a little bit. Cause you're like, oh, maybe I will take it to that place. I may have been a little insecure to take it to
Right.
beforehand. That's when it can be useful.
I'll usually have like a drink or two, but I try not to get like not be feeling it before I go up on stage because part of me wants to bring down the defensiveness a little bit, I guess, to where I'm not as like afraid, like you said, to go to a certain place, but I also don't want to bring it down so much that I'm just,
Yeah. Don't care.
don't care. And I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
just wasting my time up there. So finding the happy medium is
See, I have a feeling if I came in here that way, there'd be a lot of radio silence.
Oh, yeah.
I'd just be staring at each other going,
That's why I didn't smoke before this because I'd be like, I wouldn't care about this. Like,
right.
like, what's super dope? Like, who cares?
Yeah,
It's going to fail eventually.
it's just a thing.
Yeah, it's just this thing I do.
All right, we'll do one more news story.
Okay.
Then we'll get ready to get out of here. A dog named Lucifer rescued his owner from a burning home in Kansas. Larry Moore was asleep on his living room chair when the fire broke out in his home in Hutchinson. The smoke detectors weren't working in the home, and Moore figured he would have kept sleeping if it sleeping. Maybe I'm not going to do another. Maybe I'm not going to do another news story. He figured. He figured he would have kept sleeping if it wasn't for Lucifer, his dog. I take it.
I've said that before.
Yep.
I'd be dead if it wasn't
If
for
it
Lucifer.
wasn't
Man, if it wasn't for the
I'm not
devil.
even getting up today.
I'll praise the Dark Prince.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Hail
look
Satan.
down at my child and just like, thank the devil.
Moore told KWCH-TV, he jumped up in my lap and woke me up, and I turned around and the house was on fire. I don't think... My first thought would have been, what did you do? I don't think I would have made it, to be honest, because it happened so fast. Moore escaped the house with Lucifer and his other dog, Satan. No, just kidding. But needed treatment for smoke inhalation when after going back inside to get personal items. According to the Hutchinson Fire Department, the electrical fire was caused by, quote, improper extension cords. Let
Shock.
that be a lesson to all of us. No, cords.
Yeah, unplug everything before you
Exactly. Before you go to bed,
Yeah.
just everything in the house, alarm clock, phone,
Smoke
whatever,
detector. Smoke
whatever
Don't
you
even
got.
take the risk.
Your oxygen
Unplug it,
tank, your sleep
because
apnea machine.
Lucifer will burn your crap down.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, I was a teenager. My brother used to have a bunch of parties up at his house. Well, I didn't drink or do anything at the time like that, so I don't now either. But I happened to be up there, and he had pizza delivered earlier. So there's a pizza box sitting on the table, still had some pizza scraps left in it, and he had a cat. Well, he had a bunch of candles lit because he thought it was cool, having a little party, having a bunch of candles. They just had pizza. We're all out on his balcony, and I noticed that the light from the candles is flickering a bit more than usual. And I look in there, and his couch is on fire. Because the cat got up in the pizza box and knocked all the candles on the floor.
Of course.
So his couch is on fire. I go running in there. He's got this big blanket over top of it. So I pull the blanket off, which was the only thing burning. I'm stomping, trying to get this blanket put out. And he comes in. That's the first thing he does. What the hell are you doing? Like saving your house, idiot.
Starting a fire. Why?
Yep, I'm burning this mother down.
That is such a cat thing to do, though, to start a house fire.
Exactly. That's why had Lucifer been there.
Yeah.
I was Lucifer that night, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I saved.
You started
place
off
from
the
burning
show as
down.
Jesus. Now you're ending the show as Lucifer.
We've come full.
That's
the circle of life.
It is. Oh, man.
Mike. The Life radio show. It's the circle.
Circle of Life radio show every Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah, Monday and Wednesday.
Or what's today?
Tuesday.
Are you
Every-
sure you didn't smoke before you came in here?
No, that's my problem.
Yeah,
I'm not focused.
yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Mike, you want to throw out whatever you're promoting again, whatever it was, and we'll promote it more?
Tuesdays, check out my podcast, Mike Talks Funny, on Spreaker, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and now Spotify. Also, Wednesdays, check out Track Record with me and Robert Yetter. And whenever I feel like talking on the drive home, check out Mike's Drive Time Thoughts.
Woohoo! You got anything coming up?
Yes,
you
I
got
have
Super Dope?
Yes. So this Sunday, August 5th. That's this Sunday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll be hosting at Wiley's Comedy Joint.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I'll be going first, and then Tuesday, my birthday, I'll be 39 years old. Just kidding. I'll be 25. Super Dope is at my house, and then August 23rd, I will be in Columbus doing Beef Ghost, Amber Falter's show. It's going to be really
Beef
cool.
Ghost.
Beef Ghost.
Yeah, so her
That
family.
sounds fun.
It is. Her family has owned this place. It's like Herman and Falter Meatpacking Company. And so it's this huge meatpacking facility in Columbus, like right next to the river. And so she's going to it's called Beef Ghost. So they're going to lead you through all these different weird passageways. And you're going to do a stand-up show in this weird cooler. It's going to be super, super fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds wild.
Also, can I plug my friends real quick?
Absolutely. Plug anybody.
Yeah. A really good local band named The Zygotes. They have an album on Spotify. So if you have Spotify, go on and listen to it. Also, the band Man Ray is also really, really good. So if you like rock and roll or punk music, you're going to like both of those bands. And follow me on Instagram at Infinite Ginger. So that way you can get information about Super Dope and all the other shows.
All right.
Also,
Well, thanks for coming.
real quick, sorry, local band Choke Hazard is opening for Saving Abel this weekend.
Who's
So, do what? If you're a fan of punk rock and if you like Saving Abel, they're going to be in town, and Choke Hazard is opening up for them. So,
They said saving anal.
Yeah, much more.
For what?
For marriage.
Duh.
Anyway, on that note,
Let's change the subject.
yeah,
because
thanks
I'm
for
not-
coming in, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to leave on Saving Anal because why not? And we'll be back next week with something much more fun.
Thanks for listening to the Life Radio Show podcast. Check us out on Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network or wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, if you want to listen live, We're on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM with a repeat broadcast on Wednesdays from noon to 2, or you can always stream the show live at wwsu1069.org. If you have suggestions or comments, feel free to email thelife1069@gmail.com.
Hogwash!